Welcome to the Proverse Hong Kong Autumn Reception 2024. At this event, we'll launch 2 books which came to us as publishing proposals and not through the annual Proverse Prize exercise. We'll hear from one of the authors. We'll announce the winners of the Proverse Prize 2023 and the winner of a Proverse Publication Prize 2023. We'll announce the results of the Proverse Poetry Prize 2024. We'll introduce the 3 2023 winners and hear from the winners themselves. We apologize for aspects of the video clips made under difficult circumstances. One set in the quietest place we could find in the local hospital, and one set made early one morning before rushing back to the hospital. In due course, an edited video of the venue event in Hong Kong will be uploaded. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel to be notified when it's available. Thank you for joining us. We believe you'll find it a varied and worthwhile experience. Take care. Vernon L. Anley was educated in Australia and England. After leaving university, he worked with the Ministry of Overseas Development in the West Indies before resuming an academic career in Europe and the Far East. He worked at the Institute of Language and Education, ILE, now absorbed into the Education University of Hong Kong, when Verner Bickley, Proverse Prize co-founder, was ILE founding director. Vernon Anley has co-authored and edited a number of books, written guides on the Hejaz and Yemen, and published novels, short stories, and poetry. His novel, A Carnival of Lives, about the complex developments in Germany between 1939 and 1945, is considered a major work of historical fiction. Among his most recent publications, An Unholy Love takes the reader on a spiritual odyssey that transcends religious speculation in its apprehension of the imperishable power of love. The poems in The Water Garden fall into 2 main categories. Some are a personal response to prophetic utterances in the Old and New Testaments of the Christian Bible. Others derive from the observation and attention given to particular things and experiences. They give a sense of the poet's focus on the creative works of others, writers such as Keats and Wordsworth and Zhang-Zhu, Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel, philosopher Wittgenstein, Christian mystic Jakob Böhme, sociologist Max Weber, and painters Edward Hopper, Georges Seurat, Renoir, and of course Monet, whose painting The Water Garden at Giverny from his Water Lilies series is significantly referenced in the title of Anley's collection. We find here also responses to the lyrics of popular, folk, and traditional songs, and to the art of Australian Aborigine people. George Watt is a retired academic and a writer who has certainly not retired. He was the recipient of the Proverse Prize 2020 for his first novel, The Finlay Confession. Past published works include English language texts and academic studies such as The Fallen Woman in the 19th Century Novel, re-released by Routledge Library Editions in 2018, and the first full-length study of an influential post-colonial writer in Interlog Studies in Singapore Literature, Volume 5, Robert Yeo. Watt's poetry has appeared in 5 different volumes of the Mingled Voices series and in Sandpaper Swimming, Going After Burke and Wills, published by Flying Island Books in 2019. George Watt has held visiting academic posts in the USA and Singapore, was head of 2 residential colleges at the Australian National University, was professor and dean at Nagoya University of Commerce and Business, was founding professor of comparative culture at the Hokkaido campus of Komazawa University, and was, finally, founding master in the recent collegiate restructuring of the University of Macau. George Watt is a graduate in creative writing from the University of Edinburgh. Here are some of the advance comments received about George Watt's The Grammar of Self. From Dr. Ahmed El-Bishlawi. In its themes and concerns, The Grammar of Self is a broad-ranging work. It is a consciously and meticulously constructed edifice of histories, wars, memories, desires, texts, impulses, times and places, all interwoven by the poet's experience and contextualization of them. But at the heart of this complex edifice lies the true secret of its attraction, the abundance of subtle monadic moments where a freezing erotic gaze appears that seems to disrupt the reader's gaze as a desiring subject, where sexuality seems to problematize itself and desire sabotages its own mechanisms. For close reading readers of this collection, these moments will stay long after they put the book down. From Akin JJ, author of Smoked Pearl, Poems of Hong Kong and Beyond, Proverse 2010. Voluminous in scope, terrifying in its prescience, yet oddly compassionate in its multivaried gaze, George Watt's The Grammar of Self spans eras, continents, and histories in search of coherence, identity, and ultimately the recreation of worlds past and present. From Dr. J.P. Linstroth, winner of the Proverse Prize 2019 for his poetry collection, Epical Reckonings. This is an amazing collection of poetry. I state this for 2 reasons. It is memorable and it resonates. In my view, says Dr. Linstroth, good poetry is memorable because it has a lasting quality in the mind, and one wants to read it again and again. Additionally, good poetry also resonates because it suggests so many images and meanings, thereby reverberating with a timeless quality. George Watt's poetry book, The Grammar of Self, is such a volume with its various subjects from history to self, both memorable and resonating.
Greetings, fellow writers and fellow readers. I'm talking you today from Adelaide in South Australia, and I'm happy to be here to introduce The Grammar of Self to you. For both publishing houses and writers, one of the most difficult of literary endeavours is getting poetry to the page. One of the remarkable things about Proverse is that the house has the vision and the courage to publish and promote new and established writers, and to do so internationally and with such aplomb. For that, I am very grateful. For we writers, submitting our cherished poetic offspring for consideration brings the joy of acceptance, yet, more often than not, the pains of refusal. Why do we respond so sadly when a poem is turned down? It's not just our ego, but it is that. More importantly, it is because sharing a poem is an essential act, not a luxury. It's a need, not a want. We are kin to the visual artist in Stephanie Cowell's The Boy in the Rain who, quote, wanted to paint the world so he would never lose it. Through textualization, a poem is an act of possession, almost an ingestion of something external to us. But it needs an audience, for we don't create in a solipsistic vacuum. We take, yes, and then we give. So, to the Grammar of Self, an anthology of highly personal text which together recapture a lifetime of memorable people, places, and events. Each poem is a nexus for the reclamation of something outside me and its absorption within. Things that have left an indelible mark. Each poem is like a jigsaw piece in a puzzle that will never be solved. And yet together they amount to a description of and a reinvention of the self and its place in the world. For we are, when all is said and done, little more than memory. The poem Treacle Toffee and the Grammar of Self is almost a little manifesto for the collection. It is set in my primary school more than 65 years ago. The teacher, Mrs. Crawford, brings a tray of treacle toffee to divide and reward students who perform well in the grammar test. On that occasion, I don't get a piece, for my attention has been taken away from the classroom to look through a glass window at the top of a very high wall to a small aircraft crossing the sky. And I now quote from the poem. The aircraft draws a clean line across the rare winter blue. Its drone a purr and hum, now heard, then not, and back. It takes so long to pass from sight, its poignant diminuendo leaving me with a strange but abiding comfort. The plane took me from my nominal bench, from my dull, imprisoned, objective self, and I wandered at will, up, above, abroad, away. Decades on, in my silver years, eyes closed, the plane's consolatory purr is there, now, still calling me from the leaden mundane. So I'm here, but there. I am now, and then, more an adverb of place or time than noun. With such a singular grammar, can there be any hope of toffee for me?
We now move on to the part of the evening's programme that focuses on the Proverse Prize and the Proverse Poetry Prize. I now have great pleasure to introduce Dr. Verner Bickley, MBE, co-founder of the International Prizes for Unpublished Writing published in English and co-publisher of Proverse Hong Kong. Verner.
Greetings, everyone. Gillian and I founded the Proverse Prizes because we saw that most literary prizes were restricted in some way. We wanted there to be prizes that everyone could enter. And this is what we created. Anyone, 18 years old or more, male or female, published writer or not, is eligible to enter for the Proverse Prizes, irrespective of nationality, residence, or citizenship.
The Proverse Prize for an unpublished book-length work of fiction, non-fiction or poetry, submitted in English, maybe in translation, was announced in 2008 and is in its 60th year of competition. The Proverse Poetry Prize for single poems submitted in English, also maybe in translation, is in its 9th year of competition. People from all over the world, as well as in Hong Kong, have entered for the prizes. Including the books being launched tonight, 26 have won the Proverse Prize, 42 have won a publication prize, and 2 have been published following entry for the prize. A few hundred have had 1 or more poems published in the annual Proverse Poetry Prize anthology. Writers in Hong Kong and overseas have expressed their appreciation of our work. Writers and poets have travelled from Australia, Chile, Estonia, Israel, New Zealand and the USA to join these events. Some have been sponsored by a cultural body in their own country, others have financed themselves. Families and friends of writers have travelled to support them from the USA and the UK. We are most grateful that Hong Kong Arts Development Council has, on some occasions in recent years, offered some support for one or other of the 2 prizes, seeing them as a contribution to the development and appreciation of literary arts in and of Hong Kong. For the 2023 Proverse Prize, for the first time, they have supported publication of the 2 entries judged the best Hong Kong entries. The support of Hong Kong Arts Development Council is invaluable and much appreciated. Now to the current results. The International Proverse Poetry Prize is for poems of any genre or style, generally no more than 30 lines long. Entrants may choose their own topic, or they may choose the annual set topic. These set topics may be interpreted in any way each entrant likes. In the past few years, the topics have been, in turn, the environment, happiness, refuge, plastic, hunger, shielding, renewal, space, and together. For 2025, the set topic will be announced later. Here are the results of the 2024 Proverse Poetry Prize. The results of the 2024 Proverse Poetry Prize. First prize, Zuo Fei, People's Republic of China, the poet's lover. Second prize, Vanessa Page, Australia, the take. Third prizes, Vanita Agrawal, India, Wounded Gravel. Gary Beaumier, USA, Once the Moon in Full. Candice Delavaux Turnquest, the Bahamas, and now Hong Kong, Love in Loss. Terry Miller, UK, We Together. Specially mentioned for a group of poems, Maria Elena Blanco, Chile and Austria, Daniel Thomas Moran, USA, Cowain Wadley, USA, Joanna Radwanska-Williams, Poland, UK, USA, Macau. Several other entered poets were awarded 1 or more places in the International Proverse Poetry Prize Anthology 2024, Mingled Voices 9, to be launched at the Proverse Spring Reception 2025 in April. The names of all those who have won places will be posted soon, whether in the next Proverse Hong Kong newsletter, on social media, on the Proverse website, or on YouTube. Congratulations to all. The Proverse Prize and Proverse Publication Prizes are awarded for unpublished work. On average, it takes a year or more for publishers and authors to edit and prepare a winning work for publication. As a result, publication is usually a minimum of about a year after entry for the prize. For the International Proverse Prize 2023, 2 writers are awarded as winners of the International Proverse Prize 2023. Each receives the prize of publication and they share the cash prize. 1 writer is awarded a Proverse Publication Prize. The results of the 2023 Proverse Prize. Winner of a Proverse Publication Prize, Stuart McKay, for The Ballad of Billy Lopez. Winners of the Proverse Prize 2023, Matthew Wong Foreman for Sunset at Lion Rock, and Michael Witz for Some Dualities. Winners of a publication grant as one of the 2 best Hong Kong entries. As said, this is the first occasion this award has been made, supported by Hong Kong Arts Development Council. Matthew Wong Foreman for Sunset at Lion Rock, and Stuart McKay for The Ballad of Billy Lopez. In addition to Stuart McKay's 2023 Proverse Publication Prize just announced, we expect to launch and award early in 2025 1 or more additional winners of a 2023 Proverse Publication Prize. Congratulations to all. Susie Morley is no stranger to Proverse events. We're grateful that she continues to support our work as a series of her predecessors in the role of Director of the British Council Hong Kong, most recently Mr. Jeff Streeter, have done. Susie was previously the British Council Director of Partnerships Northeast Asia, leading and supporting partnership pursuits, planning and coordination with corporates, foundations, and philanthropic institutions for Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. Susie.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Susanna Morley and I'm the Director of the British Council in Hong Kong. I'd like to start by thanking Gillian and Verner for inviting me to say a few words. It is always a pleasure and an honour to attend a Proverse event and to celebrate new literary talent and to see hard work and tenacity come to fruition in the shape of a published book. May I offer my congratulations to all those whose books are being launched into the world. I think you will all agree that Gillian and Verner have created a wonderful phenomenon with the Proverse Prize, which have helped nurture the careers of writers and poets from all over the world. As I was preparing for this speech, I undertook a little research into literary prizes for unpublished works. I admit that my research, courtesy of Google and Wikipedia, may not stand up to academic scrutiny, but it did reveal that there are very few international prizes for unpublished works in English. Several have been discontinued, and those which remain are restricted to one literary form or a particular genre. Aside from being rare beasts, the Proverse Prizes must be among the most inclusive literary prizes on the planet. They are inclusive because they are open to all, regardless of gender, nationality, or mother tongue, and because the prizes cover pretty much the gamut of literary forms, poetry, fiction, biography, and genres too. Indeed, if you read the prize guidelines, it clearly states that mixed genre submissions are not ruled out. I think this inclusive approach has become all the more important and indeed symbolic in this era of othering and echo chambers, where the space for plurality of views, freedom of expression, and respectful difference of opinion are increasingly constrained. The Proverse Prizes foster a creative environment where writers of all cultural orientations can freely express themselves through their art, and their output will be judged entirely on its own merits. The Proverse Prizes remind us that diversity is something to be cherished, and that diversity of voices and perspectives enriches our world and deepens our knowledge of one another. Good literature should challenge us and push us out of our comfort zones from time to time. After all, without a little grit, we would not have pearls. Through the power of literature, we are able to share ideas and knowledge from different cultures and different experiences so that we can be more connected to one another and, importantly, understand a variety of viewpoints and life experiences. It also enables us to celebrate our common humanity, which is something we do not do as often as we should. But I think it is this, a celebration and exploration of the human condition, articulated through the written word, which is at the heart of the Proverse Prizes and makes them so special. I would like to close by once again congratulating all the Proverse Prize winners and newly published authors. I wish you every success with your future careers. I would also like to thank Verner and Gillian for giving to Hong Kong and the world the Proverse Prizes. Long may they continue. Thank you.
Stuart Mackay's book, The Ballad of Billy Lopez, is the winner of the Proverse Publication Prize 2023. Stuart Mackay graduated from the University of Stirling in 2007 with an honours degree in English literature and history. Having previously lived in Thailand, he moved to Hong Kong in 2012, working as an ESL teacher, tutor and examiner. An active member of the Hong Kong Writers' Circle, he has contributed to several of their anthologies and edited 2 of them. His flash fiction and short stories have appeared and have been shortlisted for prizes in online publications such as Grindstone Literary, Raconteur, Fiction Factory, and Free Flash Fiction. Congratulations to Stuart. Here are some of the advance comments we have received about Stuart Mackay's book. From Sam Powney, editor and poet, Special Characters 2024. Stuart Mackay has created a highly relatable community in 1980s small-town America, with the forbidden romance of Brad and Billy at its core. A coming-of-age story told through the voice of a disaffected teenager, it explores love, sex, friendship, family, pain, healing, and much more besides. A moving, memorable, and often poetic ballad of adolescent experience. From Dr. Ahmed El-Bashlawi, Savage Charm, Proverse 2019. The Ballad of Billy Lopez is an exciting and delightful read from beginning to end. A web of controversial issues like commercial sex and homosexuality, intertwined with the problems of master signifiers like love, writing, sex, imagination. From Jan Lee, Editor-in-Chief, The Apostrophe. This tender, funny, bittersweet coming-of-age book pulls no punches and keeps you rooting for the main characters all the way to the last page. From George Watt, winner of the Proverse Prize 2020, The Finlay Confession, a deeply moving and engaging counterpoint to Catcher in the Rye, The Outsiders, and even Huckleberry Finn. The Ballad of Billy Lopez is a spirited psychological X-ray of two amazingly insignificant people. From Sadie Kaye, broadcast journalist and filmmaker, a breathtaking debut by an extraordinary new talent, Stuart Mackay's novella took me on a startling road trip into the psyche of Brad Hart, a boy coming to terms with his sexuality and with his place in the world, ranging in mood from the blackest comedy to the deepest pathos. It is as visceral as a slaughterhouse, a literary tour de force. Proverse is grateful to Hong Kong Arts Development Council for supporting Stuart's book as one of the 2 Hong Kong best entries for the Proverse Prize 2023.
Hi, good evening. I'm delighted to have been named as a finalist in the 2023 Proverse Prize for my novel, The Ballad of Billy Lopez, and to have been chosen for publication as a supplementary prize winner. I'm also conscious of my responsibility for being named as one of the 2 best Hong Kong entries. I'd like to thank the judges, the Hong Kong Arts Development Council, as well as Doctors Gillian and Verner Bickley for their support. Set in the late 1980s, in an unnamed corner of the southern USA, The Ballad of Billy Lopez is the story of Brad, a 16-year-old from a difficult home, who sees the world for what it is, who performs tricks on anonymous men for money, and who has recently started seeing the doc because he got in one fight too many. The doc, as part of his treatment, insists that Brad start keeping a diary. Initially resistant, Brad soon finds that he can't help writing things down, no matter how mundane he thinks they sound, or how much he hopes nobody will ever read them. In class, he's forced to work with straight-A dweeb Billy Lopez, whose leg Brad just happened to break in a soccer game a few weeks earlier. As Brad and Billy's friendship develops, they find in one another certain things they lack in themselves. Billy grounds Brad and helps him see that he's more than his upbringing and that his dysfunctional family isn't irredeemable, while Brad, in turn, teaches Billy how to let loose sometimes, to be a teenager, while realizing that Billy's cookie-cutter family life, with all its cable TV and ensuite bathrooms, isn't quite what it seems. They spend the summer together, growing closer, in more ways than one. They grow closer, grow physical with one another, acts that Brad describes in his unique, matter-of-fact narrative style. What starts out as an awkward alliance develops into an impulsive, eye-opening, and ultimately devastating romance. This book has taken the better part of a decade to get to this point, from the day I started writing down Brad's story in a notebook. I can still remember the morning in 2016 when I started writing this story. I'm not sure what inspired it. I think it was one of those days when you sit down and force yourself to write something, anything. But once Brad's voice had come to me, I found I'd never had a story or characters or a fictional world that had come more easily or more fully formed. Unusually for me, perhaps unusually for anyone, I wrote the first drafts of the story out by hand in a series of notebooks, one of which features on the cover of the novel. I felt it was important to write it just as Brad would have done, to ignore spelling mistakes and to physically score out lines that didn't ring true. I also treated it like a real diary, carrying the notebook around in my bag wherever I went, jotting down entries, as it were, in any free moment. I hope that even now, in its published form, the novel reads as if straight from the stubby pencil of a complex teenager. I also hope that, despite the singular setting and characters, that The Ballad of Billy Lopez speaks to anyone who can remember coming of age in any time or place, and can remember the power of their first love. Once again, I'd like to thank Proverse Hong Kong for recognising the value of this story and for giving me the opportunity to publish this novel, my first. I hope that you, the readers, will be able to take as much from this tale as I did from writing it. Thank you.
Some Dualities by Michael Witz is one of 2 winners of the International Proverse Prize 2023. Michael Witz was born a twin in Cardiff, Wales, migrating to Australia when he was 5. Some Dualities is his 5th collection of poetry to be published in the 50 years he's been writing, and the first to be published internationally. Here are some of the advance comments we've received about Michael's collection. From Marilee Day, author of Lambs of God, what a privilege and joy to read these superbly crafted poems. In a clear, measured, uncompromising voice, Some Dualities examines childhood and parenthood, innocence and wisdom, memory and forgetting, past and present, distilling them into illuminating pinpoints that map out a life which speaks to our common humanity. From Anne Casey, winner of the Proverse Poetry Prize 2020. Master of the dramatic opening and the wistful ending, Michael Witt's flex his craft to excavate secrets as subtle as the mason's handshake in his stirring and delicately balanced 5th poetry collection, Some Dualities. Witt is unflinching in his visceral questioning of Australia's troubled settler history, the plight of refugees, war, human-induced ecological harms, the carnage of roadkill, and the uneasy economy of animal farming. Unwavering in his celebration of his great loves, family, poetic heroes, nature, and the pursuit of truth, Witt also plumbs wisdom from his losses. Some Dualities underscores Witt's exceptional skill in portraiture and dramatic imagery, whether sketching one of his cherished children, a long-lost uncle, a second cousin once removed, a friend's hound, or a fallen cockatoo. In Some Dualities, Michael Witt delivers a generous, open-hearted hymn to the subtle art of living with one eye ever elevated to divine grace in the everyday.
Thank you. I'd like to thank both Drs. Bickley for their support. I've been under poetry's spell since I was a teenager. For me, it's a lifelong affliction. I'm particularly proud of my collection, Some Dualities, which has won the prize. It's my 5th collection of poetry. I always believe that poetry is writing's poor cousin, and I had no greater expectation than I might get published. I certainly didn't expect to win. The manuscript represents my last 15 years of writing. It wasn't written to a deadline. It wasn't padded for publication. It's just a collection that I refined by grouping poems, mostly by theme. They can be read separately, but they will often benefit from reading the poems which surround it. The collection opens with poems referencing other poets that mean a lot to me. Sylvia Plath, Frank O'Hara, Constantine Cavafy, John Ashbery, Gary Snyder, a pretty eclectic bunch. Most of the rest of my poems come from my rather mundane life and my children, my constant inspiration and joy. The collection celebrates life's ups and downs. My language is unadorned. There is an element of play. The more obscure personal references are explained in notes to the collection, and being an Australian, there may be things which you're not familiar with, but it is explained. If you read and reread these poems, they will keep giving up their secrets. Please buy a copy. We need it. I'd like to finish by reading a poem which is not in the collection. I've just finished it, dedicated to my wife. It's called Spice Garden. Another languid day, the almost liquid air burdened with the scent of spices, cinnamon, cardamom, clove embraces the lovers. They walk blending bark, leaf and flower with the earthly smell of decaying foliage, every vine entwined. They could be Adam or Eve, the last couple or the first, it doesn't matter. Intoxicated with the smell of sex, his hand in hers, all their present and future mingling like their sweat, fecund with love, lust for their present and future locked together. Thank you. Please buy my book.
Matthew Wong Foreman is a winner of the International Proverse Prize 2023 and one of 2 best Hong Kong entries as chosen by the judges. Matthew Wong Foreman is a Hong Kong native, born and raised in Mongkok. Growing up, he went to local and international schools and earned his BA at the University of Hong Kong before receiving a scholarship to read history at Oxford, UK. He then moved to Chicago to begin a PhD in Chinese history at Northwestern University. His work has appeared in Journeying, Hong Kong, and been shortlisted for the Bridport Prize, UK, and the Dzanc Books Prize for Fiction. He currently moves between London and Hong Kong. Here are some of the comments we've received about Matthew Wong Foreman's first novel, Sunset at Lion Rock. From Flora Chan, New York City, USA, author of South of the Yangtze, winner of the Proverse Prize 2022. Love and loss share the same root in Sunset at Lion Rock. The narrative's passionate, searching voice takes us through the tug-of-war of a biracial and multicultural Hong Kong native, as he navigates the pain of understanding family decisions alongside his home city's complex history, as well as finding resolution, acceptance, and peace. From Susie, author of That Man in Our Lives, This Fish is Foul, Monkey in Residence, and Other Speculations. Matthew Wong Foreman's debut novel is an ambitious epistolary sprawl that chronicles, protests, and scrambles what a Hong Kong novel, assuming such a thing really needs to exist, ought to be. Sunset at Lion Rock is a fabulous beast of a book, ostensibly the saga of Eric, a Eurasian boy who looks English like Dad, lives Chinese with Mummy in a multi-generational, extended family, matriarchal household where all the men have disappeared, and who must hack his way through a traumatic boyhood as an overly philosophical, albeit gifted outsider in every Hong Kong world he stumbles into and fails in. Add to that the Sisyphean yoke of pious Buddhist beliefs imposed by his mother and grandmother. His real story finally explodes on the page after one summer of an enforced stay in Buddhist camp at Lion Rock Temple, from which he escapes with Eddie, sending him on a morality quest about existence, as well as racial, linguistic, and gender identity, a notably rewarding read from an obvious talent. From Jason S. Polly, Associate Professor English, Academy of Language and Culture, FASS, Hong Kong Baptist University, Kowloon Tong. Wong Foreman's partly fictionalized novel is also a memoir. How else to reflexively sustain so much genuine suffering, passion, and sympathy in an encyclopedic work opening with a family tree and spanning through fragments, mirages, and flashbacks, through skiving and scars and scandals, 4 generations. Like 2021's Diamond Hill by Kit Fan, another debut novel where the first-person, notionally Buddhist narrator too recognizes that one does not devote oneself seriously to any religion without being damaged. Wong Foreman masterfully entwines Cantonese into his English-language Hong Kong novel. Critically at home in Cantonese and English, the author of Sunset at Lion Rock consequently repairs a disjunction that Hong Kongers like me, i.e. Jason S. Polly, cannot address. Wong Foreman dwells within two oft-divergent worlds, Canto Hong Kong and Anglo Hong Kong. He's not relegated to occupy but one of two parallel sociolinguistic tracks. As such, again, like the deservedly fated Kit Fan, Wong Foreman introduces English readers to another dimension, another metaphysic, another Hong Kong. Wong Foreman's Hong Kong, our Hong Kong, is complexly nuanced, is existentially problematic, is much more real and multi-prismed than the English language can manage to imagine and construct. A flawed place, an ingenious place, a borrowed place, a tragic place, a magic place, an all too human, all too spirited emporium of the past, gasping through the present. Wong Foreman's Hong Kong.
Thank you all for being here today. It means very much to me to see among you all the people that I love and care about here with me on a very special day. I am honored to receive the 2023 Proverse Prize and privileged to be chosen as one of the two best Hong Kong entries. I want to take this moment to thank Professors Gillian and Verner Bickley for not just awarding me this prize, but for making Proverse Hong Kong a dedicated, supportive, and safe space for aspiring writers like myself to bare our hearts and validate our souls. Thank you for everything you have done and continue to do. I wish Dr. Bickley a speedy and complete recovery. Growing up, I never valued poetry or literature. I spent the first 21 years of my life here in this city, and like many others, I was always taught to focus on getting good grades, a good career, a good spouse, to follow the rules and steer clear of excitement, of adventure, and of risk. I was told that literature was a meaningless endeavor. It existed and should only exist inside the confines of a classroom, where it was safely contained, controlled, and curated. Our ancestors, with great intentions, constructed rules for us to follow, guardrails and signposts on hiking paths given to us by the municipal planners who told us that following these signs ensured our safety. And in some ways, this is true. Poems, after all, can't pay the bills or buy a flat. You don't get dividends from words on a page. You can't get lost if you follow the signposts. We are comforted knowing when we have to go straight, to turn here, to go up there. I took this belief with me for a while, even after I left Hong Kong, and many years passed before I gradually started questioning whether staying within those guardrails was something that I really wanted. Because if you follow the guardrails, you will only go to what is known. You will only go to places that have been carefully curated by those who want you to see a certain version of reality, a reality that they have decided is the best or only one for you all. In other words, you are following rather than truly going. And for many of us, we come to the realization that sometimes these roads are not made with someone like us in mind, that we have to go off the well-trodden path to feel the ecstatic terror and anxiety of being lost. But at the same time, perhaps we are also the most free that we've ever been, where every step that we take is a new discovery for the potential life that we want to build. I remember very well the moment that I first felt shaken by literature. It was just before Christmas in 2020, and Illinois had just come out of a stay-at-home order which had cancelled Thanksgiving. Worried that another order was on the horizon, I spent several days just wandering the streets of downtown Chicago, catching glimpses of desperate shops trying to make the most of the brief window that got people out and about. Like many others, I had spent most of the year isolated, living by myself, unable to go home. My research for my PhD project had stalled, and I was constantly worried that my funding would run out before I finished my degree, which meant that I would have to figure out how to get back to Hong Kong with all the quarantines and cancelled flights. I remember walking down Michigan Avenue aimlessly, with nothing but the December snow to keep me company. Tired and bored, I eventually turned into an alley and dipped into an enclosed entryway to figure out where I was. As I struggled to navigate Google Maps with my frigid hands, I heard a rustle behind me, and I turned to see 4 bodies huddled together in a corner, under a mound of blankets, open suitcases, and other luggage, trash bags, and boxes. 4 girls of various ages, the biggest couldn't be older than 16 or 17. My instant impulse, something I would normally do, was to run, to get away from the uncomfortable mixture of guilt and pity that so often comes when face to face with poverty, real poverty. But for some reason, this time I didn't. This time, I took out my wallet and gave them everything I had, apologizing over and over as I handed them crumpled notes and rusty coins. The young woman took the money in silence, but one of them reached inside a half-opened box and pulled out a stack of paper. Without saying anything, she handed me a random scrap from the top of the pile, a little cue card slightly torn and stained. On it, scribbled in blue ink, was a poem. I knew I was dying. Something in me said, go ahead, die, sleep, become as them, accept. Then something else in me said, no, save the tiniest bit. It needn't be much, just a spark. A spark can set a whole forest on fire. Just a spark, save it. Reading this, I knew what I believed all my life was wrong. Literature does matter, even to those who have nothing, because words cost nothing. But for those who use words to comfort or express themselves, even in the face of futility, it can mean everything. Thank you all again for being here with me today. It means everything.
As we conclude the formal part of the evening, I'd like to acknowledge in the strongest manner the inspired leadership of Dr. Verner Bickley, without whom there would be no Proverse Prizes and no Proverse Publishing House. I'd like to give thanks to several people, our distributors, Chinese University of Hong Kong Press, our rights manager, Hong Kong University of Hong Kong Press, Mr. Jason Ng, who's been arranging printing for us since 2009, Mr. Dickie Wu, who's been doing cover design and other artwork for us since 2010, and Mr. Moon, who's been performing collections and deliveries for almost the same length of time. I also thank the Helena May and the Helena May staff for their always willing and efficient help. We've had the pleasant and efficient help of our local and experienced volunteer, Miss Joyce Liu. Also, 4 students from Hong Kong College of Technology, Teo, William, Rachel, and Josie. William and Josie were with us at our spring reception, and Teo and Rachel are with us for the first time. Very many thanks to their teacher, Daniel Choi, whose pleasant and enthusiastic help is invaluable. Thank you again to Felix Wong, Sadie Kaye, Polly Ho, and others for taking photographs or video footage.